collected 57 more points than Aberdeen this season. They conceded 57 fewer goals. They scored 52 more goals. I could go on, but you get the gist. Of course, such statistics may count for absolutely nothing on Cup Final day. Those of an Aberdeen persuasion are banking on that being the case. They may be shaking hands now, but it'll soon be down to business. Numan captains Rangers today, and he'll be hoping it goes rather better than the last time he skipped a cup final side. But that was 2 years ago when he and Dick Advocaat's PSV Eindhoven were hammered 5-0 by Ajax. 10 years after the low point of his colourful career, when Alex Ferguson drops in for Manchester United's cup final replay, Jim Leighton hopes to bow out on a high at the age of 41. Retirement beckons too for Jim McAllister, who will blow the final whistle on his 16-year refereeing career today. He was also in charge of the 1993 final between these clubs. Dick Advocaat springs a surprise then. Craig Moore gets a shock recall after over 2 months out with a knee problem. He's missed out in the last couple of years, so welcome to the final, Craig, at last. Few believe in Aberdeen's players today, but that's not important. What matters most is that they believe in themselves. It's obvious they will have to be at their very, very best. Even that may not be enough because they are facing the very, very best. Champions Rangers aiming to do the double to add a 29th Scottish Cup to a 49th title. Aberdeen sporting their new kit to get the 2000 Scottish Cup final up and running, but Rangers soon have it.
Yeah, the one thing Aberdeen are going to have to do, Ian, is compete this afternoon, and Rowson will give them a bit of grit in that midfield area, and it's vital they're prepared to put their foot in and stand up to the physical challenge that Rangers will offer.
I suppose their worst fear would naturally be conceding an early goal. Andy Dow scored the semi-final winner here against Hibs and also scored a League Cup winner against Rangers. Aberdeen, one of the few teams to beat the champions this season, and that result really rankled Dick Advocaat. Some suggested he wasn't too bothered about going out of the League Cup, but he maintains that his rather depleted side that night should have won. You detect a hint of revenge might be in the air. Payback time perhaps for that. Oh, Barry Ferguson lost sight of that, and it's slipped through for Stavrum, and Stefan Klos comes out, but the flag is up anyway.
Yeah, just wandered offside, but a real moment of slackness here from Barry Ferguson. Maybe a sign of nerves here early in the match. It fell nicely there for Andy Dow. Tried to play Stavrum in, but he really had to get it earlier to remain onside there. A bit of encouragement early on for the Dons.
Kanchelskis. Not the best of returns from Billy Dodds, facing one of his former clubs. Reyna, who has filled in at right back in recent times. Kanchelskis. Oh, it's an awkward one, and Leighton has been hurt. And a free kick's been given, and Jim Leighton's got a right whack in the opening minutes.
Yeah, it's good Whyte play though by Kanchelskis. He needs just half a yard here on Jimmy McAllister. Whips it in early. You see Rod Wallace and Billy Dodds both attacking the front post. Jim Leighton takes a sore one there before spilling it, and Jim McAllister immediately blew the whistle. But good Whyte play once again by Kanchelskis, who even this early in the match looks as sharp as a tack. Good early ball in. Dodds and Wallace both prepared to attack it. Leighton goes down very bravely, and I think he's caught there by the knee of Rod Wallace. And with no goalkeeper on the bench, Aberdeen will be wanting to see Jim Leighton back in his feet here.
Well, it'll be a major concern this for Skovdahl, because the Scottish FA haven't caught up with the 5 substitutes in their major competition. Just 3 allowed on the bench, so no keepers for either team.
Yeah, I think he's caught by Rod Wallace here. I think it's the trailing leg of Rod Wallace. It's his left knee that catches Jim Leighton. And just there, and Jim Leighton, who had both hands on the ball, immediately released it. Such was the impact of the collision. And this would be a desperate blow for Aberdeen, where Jim Leighton be unable to continue. And you can see the concern there, rightly so, on Skovdahl's face. Kanchelskis at his very best here. McAllister just not quick enough to get on terms with him. Good delivery in. Leighton so brave going down there at the feet of Rod Wallace, caught late, and sadly looks to be in some distress there.
Well, it's an incredible story in the opening minutes, but it's a very sad story because Jim Leighton, in what is almost certainly his last ever game, does not look in a good way, and Skovdahl's best laid plans may be wrecked here if he has to put an outfield player in goal.
Well, the first thing we say is that we hope Jim Leighton is okay, Ian, but assuming he is, but he's unable to continue, it really is going to ruin this cup final for Aberdeen to have to put an outfield player in goal this early in the match. It was always going to be an uphill struggle. Skovdahl appears to be having a word with Whyte. I just wonder whether they have a contingency plan here, whether they have an outfield player who already knew he was going to go in goal in these circumstances.
I have to say, I can't work out why they don't have 5 subs in the Scottish Cup.
No, me neither.
Well, Jim Leighton is on a stretcher, and Skovdahl must be wondering what's going to happen next in this quite remarkable season. Robbie Winters is going to have to come on and maybe go in goal. And Jim Leighton's career seems to be ending now.
Yeah, it's a very sad ending for Jim Leighton. This was his swan song at a stadium at which he's distinguished himself down through the years, Ian, and this really wasn't in the script.
Well, in many ways it makes a farce of it. And I know some of the Rangers players were saying this week, mainly those that were going to miss out, it must be said, that there should be 5 subs on the bench, as there is in the Scottish Premier League. So what is Skovdahl and Aberdeen going to do here? Are they going to hang on and see?
Yeah, I think Jim McCluskey is going to give them as long as possible here. Still only 10 Aberdeen players on the pitch.
Hardly a dull moment for Jim McCluskey in his last ever game. They're going to obviously check on the state of Jim Leighton down there.
Yeah, I think they're going to give him every chance, and I think Jim McCluskey has made the right decision here by giving Aberdeen as long as possible here to see if Jim Leighton is all right to continue.
Well, if he's not okay, then Aberdeen are going to have to put an outfield player in goal. But this is sensible from Jim McCluskey. Well, Ryan Essen has now come out of the tunnel. Oh, that's Robbie Winters wearing his top, I think. Unbelievable drama in the opening minutes of the Scottish Cup final.
I have to say, I'm surprised it's Robbie Winters who's going to fill in for Jim Leighton, Ian. And how he's going to come for crosses. I mean, he's not the biggest, is he?
Well, this is sensational stuff in the Scottish Cup final. Aberdeen have lost Jim Leighton in the opening stages, and Robbie Winters having to come on in his place and having to borrow Ryan Essen's jersey. I was going to say, would I like them to see try and get Essen on the field, considering he wasn't on the bench.
Well, it's a big job in terms of the players in front of Robbie Winters, and he's not going to win too many crosses, so it's vital now that Solberg and Whyte are prepared to defend that penalty area for him.
This is the way it tends to go for Aberdeen.
Yeah, it's been a shocking season all round, but this is the gamble that Skovdahl took by having no goalkeeper on the bench, and it's rebounded on him.
the action resumes, but all the talk is about Jim Leighton being stretchered off in his final game, and Robbie Winters having to go in goal. And I'm sure there will be further calls now for clubs to be allowed 5 substitutes in the Scottish Cup. Dodds somehow helping it on towards Kanchelskis. Kanchelskis aiming to give the standing keeper an early test, but it doesn't get through the throng of players. Wallace. Here's Derek Whyte. Aberdeen are probably thinking this could only happen to them. Bernard. Solberg. McAllister gave it away to Reyna. Well, it was a match that seemed to be in Rangers' favour right from the start. Even more so now, although maybe it's the sort of day for a hero to come to the fore. Albertz trying to slip it through to Wallace. I think Albertz will be having a few pops at Robbie Winters, won't he?
Oh, no danger. The one thing you would have to say is that, I mean, few people gave Aberdeen a chance, but any pressure at all that was on them today has now been removed. No one's going to fancy them at all without Jim Leighton in goal. So there's no pressure on them.
Well, it's a sad start, really, to the Scottish Cup final. Jim Leighton stretchered off, and an outfield player in goal for Aberdeen in Robbie Winters, who certainly wouldn't have expected to get off the bench this early, and certainly wouldn't have expected either to be on the ball now wearing Ryan Esham's goalkeeping jersey. He lasted less than 2 minutes, Jim Leighton. This is Barry Ferguson. Kanchelskis. Dodds. Barged off it by his former teammate Derek Whyte. Here's Jess, who could be and should be an influential player for Aberdeen today.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to get Jess on the ball as often as possible. It's a confident start here by Jess. Lovely little pull back there, caught late by George Albertz. But a real responsibility on the shoulders of Jess now.
Aberdeen, though, with Stavrum. And it cannoned off Numan. Reyna away towards Bronckhorst. And he hasn't done that too often this season. So Aberdeen rocked by the loss of Jim Leighton, but giving it a go here with Harold Stavrum, their top scorer. Flag's gone up. Aberdeen have only won 2 of their last 20 meetings with Rangers, but one of those was this season in the League Cup. Motherwell last week became the first side to beat Dick Advocaat's Rangers twice. Can Aberdeen follow suit? Tony Vidmar. Some stray passes from Rangers. And wouldn't it be something if Aberdeen took the lead? Jess, Stavrum in the middle. The challenge from Craig Moore.
Yeah, it's encouraging play once again by Jess, who's dropping off the front at times, and Gunveit's going beyond him. And he's finding a little bit of room there just off the front. getting the chance to run at the Rangers' back line.
Well, in comes the corner. Oh, and Solberg was in there. Rowson got the first flip.
Again, it's good encouraging play here by Aberdeen. Rangers didn't defend it well, I have to say.
Albertz seeking out Kanchelskis and seeking him out rather well. Tony Vidmar. It's an all-Australian central defence for Rangers today.
The one thing that Aberdeen can't afford to do now, Ian, is defend deep. Otherwise Rangers will be taking pot shots at Robbie Winters all day. And Solberg and Derek Whyte, to be fair, are trying to hold the line as high up the pitch as possible.
Just like that. Let's get some news on Jim Leighton from our man, touchline, David Tanner.
Thanks very much indeed, Ian. You won't be surprised to hear it's a nasty one for Jim Leighton. There's blood all the way up the tunnel there. We understand that Jim has suffered a fractured jaw and has also lost some teeth. So it's a fractured jaw for the Aberdeen goalkeeper, and you won't be surprised to hear that he's now been taken to hospital. Ian.
Thank you, David. Well, our best wishes to Jim Leighton, whose colourful career appears to be ending in a less than colourful way. And you have to feel sorry for Mr. Skovdahl.
Yeah, but they appear to have handled it pretty well so far. Ian, Rangers haven't had a shot on target yet, which I'm sure Dick Advocaat isn't too amused about. Aberdeen are holding the line well up the pitch.
Numan, well, there's no flag against Billy Dodds. Aberdeen felt there should have been. Derek Whyte was fuming with the linesman then. Kanchelskis. He has runners. And away by Whyte, but only as far as Albertz. And Robbie Winters will be rather relieved that that one flew away from his goal.
Yeah, that's the danger, of course, now in the last third. Rangers won't need any encouragement at all to get a shot away on target. And then Van Bronckhorst and this man, they have two men who could punish Aberdeen, particularly now with Robbie Winters in goal. Difficult one to take here, it sits up for him, and he can't quite get over it, and I'm quite sure much to the relief of Robbie Winters, it flew well over.
Well, Rangers suffered their biggest ever Scottish Cup defeat here at Hampden Park when Aberdeen thrashed them 6-0 in the 1954 semi-final. I think the Dons might just settle for something similar today. Solberg's header. Jess. He was trying to slip it through to Guntveit, but Numan was having none of that. And now Rod Wallace, and Numan has continued his advance. Aberdeen, though, in control of their situation at the moment, and it is a dire situation, having lost their goalkeeper. Dodds, Reyna, Albertz. He's almost found Rod Wallace.
Yeah, good play by Derek Whyte, though. Ian read the script. He'll close Wallace down very quickly, and Aberdeen are going to need more of the same throughout this match.
Solberg, Andy Dow. Jess. That's what he and Jess can be about. Guntveit. Anderson. Rowson. Aberdeen making decent progress here. But in the end, Albertz stepped in and he's bursting away for Rangers. Now Kanchelskis. He's going to test the keeper. Well done, Winters.
Yeah, very much so. Very well done, Robbie Winters, because the ball kicks up just in front of him here. Kanchelskis, well, saying I'm going to test him. Decent effort by the Ukrainian, and Winters did very well.
One thing's for sure, Robbie Winters is going to remember this day for the rest of his life. Aberdeen are really giving it a go. Poor cross, it'll be collected by Klos.
Well, they're just edging it in terms of possession, Ian, and I think Skovdahl will be well encouraged by the way they've started this match. The real test perhaps still to come, because Rangers haven't settled at the moment. But the longer the game goes, the more Aberdeen's confidence will grow.
Wallace, Reyna, Kanchelskis, Wallace. Dodds is offside at the moment. He was getting back, and now offside against Kanchelskis.
Well, once again they did well. They're well up the park. They held their line well, and they're going to have to do that. It's certainly very risky, because Rangers do get good movement, particularly from the likes of Bronckhorst, who's prepared to run in behind when Dodds and Wallace drop off. But it's the only way forward for Aberdeen to shorten the game for their midfield players and allow them to get forward and link up.
Rangers recorded 3 comfortable wins in their league encounters with Aberdeen this season: 5-1, 5-0 and 3-0. But there was a 1-1 at the Todry, and there was a 1-0 to Aberdeen in the League Cup. Winters has it within his grasp.
Prepared to come, but it was a super run by Bronckhorst again, Ian. Just exactly what we were talking about, his willingness to go beyond his front two.
Reyna's header, but it drops for Andy Dow, and he's sneaked it back to Stavrum. And Stavrum has got away here. What a chance now for Aberdeen! And it was cut out by Albertz. Harry Ferguson. Wallace. Reyna. Ferguson. Reyna. Fierce tussle with Andy Dow. The last 6 times Aberdeen have reached the Scottish Cup final, they've won it. If they do it again, it'll be talked about for years. Guntveit. Over the head of Jess. Away by Reyna, and then by Kanchelskis. Solberg. Wallace proving to be a bit of a pest.
Craig Moore looked a little bit rusty here. The ball in behind, Stavrum onto it. Nice little turn here from the Norwegian. But people say that George Albertz doesn't do the shift. Well, he's certainly back helping his defenders there, and it's a crucial interception.
Extraordinary goings on already at Hampden Park on Scottish Cup final day. Jim Leighton lasting less than 2 minutes. Taken to hospital with a bad knock. And with no sub-keeper, Kanchelskis is hoping to put the fear of God into Robbie Winters here. Who's the standing keeper, Kanchelskis, and Rod Wallace takes over! And what a save! I think he might have got a touch on that.
Yeah, I think he sucked some of his fingers onto it. Ian did just enough to get it onto the crossbar. First chance of the match that Rangers have created, significantly enough from their best player so far, Kanchelskis, who played Wallace in.
Craig Moore, Rangers yet to really up the tempo. Kanchelskis. Kanchelskis left on the ground. Referee happy to let Reyna get on with it.
I think Jimmy McAllister's fortunate there. I think that's a bad tackle.
Albertz through to Dodds. Getting booed by the Aberdeen fans who used to adore him, such is the way of things. Craig Moore, a surprise selection after a couple of months out injured. Lovely touch from Wallace. Here's Van Bronckhorst. It's opening up for the champions as they go in search of the Scottish Cup. Albertz electing to send it back to Tony Vidmar. Rangers choosing to play 1 to 11 today rather than use their squad numbers. Whyte got stuck into Wallace. That's what Aberdeen are going to need. Now Jess. Stavrum is in there. And ball.
Yeah, I think it just kicks up onto his right hand here, but again, good play by Aberdeen from midfield forward. And what a good save by Robbie Winters. McAllister one-on-one with Kanchelskis, skinned there. Kanchelskis chooses to play Wallace in, and Robbie Winters does just enough with the fingertips here to get it onto the crossbar. Rangers' first real chance of the match, and Robbie Winters of all people denying them.
Here's Jamie McAllister, who has been one of these success stories for Aberdeen this season. Jess now. Stavrum seeking out Rowson. Rowson delivers, but Stefan Klos says, thank you, I'll have that one. Kanchelskis clearly in the mood. Dodds. Albertz. Kanchelskis ready to tease and torment Aberdeen again. Kanchelskis, oh, tripped right on the edge of the area by Solberg.
That's a daft tackle, and he's going nowhere here. If anything, he's running out of room here. And Solberg with a reckless challenge. And this could turn out to be a costly free kick to give away there. I don't know what he's thinking about there.
The stand-in keeper, Robbie Winters, might well have been saying, thanks a lot for that one, Thomas, because he's going to have to probably face the hammer. It's an awesome sight when Albertz is teeing one up. Here he goes, George Albertz, straight against the wall. And Aberdeen survive that particular scare. Ferguson. And Bronckhorst. Bernard up towards Stavrum. Andy Dow is making a run. Important intervention was from Moore. Whyte aware of the presence of Rod Wallace, but dealing with it admirably.
Yeah, he's had an excellent start to the game, Derek Whyte. He's been prepared to go and press the ball, close Rangers down.
Bernard. Jess has peeled out wide. Might have too much on it, though. He and Jess can be a frustrating player, but can be an exceptional player too. Well, we're heading towards the half-hour mark, and it's still goalless. And Dick Advocaat's Rangers didn't get the early goal that many thought they might, even though Aberdeen lost their goalkeeper, Jim Leighton.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Aberdeen, Ian, because they've played ever so well so far, but Rangers really haven't played at all. And I'm sure Dick Advocaat's going to have plenty to say at half-time.
Kanchelskis is going to win the race here. McAllister is with him. No great support for Kanchelskis yet. It arrives in the shape of Reyna, the captain of the USA. More leaving it for Ferguson, the Scottish Football Writers' Player of the Year. Dodds, Kanchelskis. Barry Ferguson has popped up in the box. Nothing doing though for Rangers, who need to step it up a gear really, but Aberdeen will be quite happy if they stay in the gear they're in at the moment. And Bronckhorst leaving it for Barry Ferguson. George Albertz. Numan. Now they're spraying some passes around. Dodds. Oops. Stavrum. Tony Vidmar mopping up. Last weekend, the Scottish Premier League concluded with Rangers suffering only their second league defeat. Albertz trying to get in, but Derek Whyte is there.
Yeah, just as well there that Derek Whyte read that, because Albertz was away from Thomas Solberg, who just switched off for a second.
Back come Rangers for more though. Wallace's cross, and Dodds was stretching.
Yeah, a fraction too deep the ball in there for Billy Dodds. Aberdeen for the first time in the match looking ragged at the back. Rod Wallace trying to pick Billy Dodds out as Robbie Winters took up position at the front post. And just asking a bit too much of him here. Billy Dodds at full stretch.
24 goals this season, 14 for Rangers, 10 for Dundee United, which meant that he finished the season as their top scorer. Stavrum. Dow. His former club Chelsea won the English FA Cup last week. Albertz with Numan available, but he's gone through the middle to Rod Wallace. And no free kick. This is Dow. Stavrum nearby. Alan Craig Moore. Oh, it wasn't cleared that effectively, and really broke in Aberdeen's favour for Rowson.
Yes, a decent ball in by Stavrum here into the front post. No one prepared to attack it, but it was an awkward one for Craig Moore to deal with.
Ferguson. Dodds. Kanchelskis. In, is it, by Arthur Numan? It is. Numan to Wallace. He went behind Van Bronckhorst. And now McAllister can bring an end to that Rangers attack. Now Bernard. Stavrum. Andy Dow popping up on that side. This is Guntveit. Thomas Solberg. Bernard up towards Stavrum, and he'll get the free kick, barged over by Tony Vidmar. Aberdeen, which has one defeat in their 11 cup games this season, and that came here against Celtic in the League Cup final. But they are holding their own against the champions at the moment.
Yeah, I think they've got to make the most of set pieces as well, in the absence of Amoruso.
could have gone anywhere. It was hoisted away by Vidmar. David Rowson will make up a lot of ground as the afternoon goes on. And Bronckhorst. Reyna. Moore. Numan, who will be hoping to lift the Scottish Cup later on. Skippering Rangers with Lorenzo Amoruso injured. And Numan has continued running here, and he's in. Arthur Numan, and what an intervention, and then Russell Anderson got a little bit on it, and then Numan couldn't turn it back anyway.
Yeah, Russell Anderson just switched off for a second there. He was almost punished by Arthur Numan. A typical run there by the Dutch international.
Well, that was a sudden collision.
Yeah, Barry Ferguson at full tilt. And it's Russell Anderson, I think, who caught him there.
That hurt both of them. Advocaat looking pretty relaxed at the moment.
I don't know about that, Ian. I think he'll have plenty to say at half-time, but Arthur Numan almost in the perfect position here. The back-to-front ball. Russell Anderson caught with the ball in behind. Did just enough to put Numan off as he tried to deliver it first time. Anderson wrong side of Numan here, but eventually manages to do just enough there. Otherwise, Numan would have been in a position to pull it back across the face of goal.
Skovdahl, 3 times a Danish Cup winner with Brøndby and 5 times a title winner. Also beat Bayern Munich in Europe. So treatment still being given, which gives us a chance to remind you that there's more football to come a little later today in the European Under-21 Championship. Italy against England. It's from 7 on Sky Sports 1. Craig Brown, sat next to Sean Connery. Big week coming up for Craig. Republic of Ireland against Scotland is live on Sky Sports 2. Sean Connery passing on a few tactics too there, by the way. So we're back in business, and nobody picked up Giovanni van Bronckhorst, and there was no flag, and Rangers are in front in the Scottish Cup final. The standing keeper, Robbie Winters, is beaten by Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah, appeals for offside, Ian, but this is the man that we spoke about. And the Rangers midfield 4, he's the one who's prepared to go beyond. He's certainly onside there. And that's a fine finish. Good early ball by Albertz. Aberdeen caught square. And he only needed one touch, one that you would imagine Jim Leighton might have coped with. And it really just goes through Robbie Winters.
Goal at last for Dick Advocaat. Giovanni van Bronckhorst has had a sensational season. One thing he perhaps needs to do a little more is score. He has scored. And Rangers lead. Stavrum. Bounced off Craig Moore. And if it did hit his hand, it certainly wasn't intentional. Albertz, who set up that goal with a wonderful free kick that will be offside against Wallace.
Yeah, that's always a danger for Aberdeen. They know they can't afford to defend on top of Robbie Winters. They have to try and defend up the pitch. It's leaving a lot of space in behind. And Van Bronckhorst is a man to punish them. And he's been making this kind of run all afternoon. And he finally gets the payoff. Timed it to perfection. Derek Whyte certainly playing him onside. And Robbie Winters couldn't do enough.
Well, they had held out for some time, Aberdeen. Although Rangers were not really on the case. They're on the case now. They're on the trail of yet more silverware. And Vidmar now sending it up towards Billy Dodds, who unusually can't come up with a decent first touch. McAllister. a free kick for obstruction by Numan. Jess' free kick finds Stavrum, the early cross, but no problems at all for the German keeper Klos. Rangers' 130th goal of the season has given them the lead at Hampden Park. Reyna looking for Dodds, but across came Solberg, although Dodds came back for more. Bernard. Anderson. Rangers' 26-match unbeaten run was ended at Motherwell last week. Kanchelskis for Albertz, but Solberg standing firm. As Rangers suffered only their second league defeat at Motherwell, Aberdeen were keeping only their second clean sheet of the season at Dundee. Such is the difference between these two teams. Offside this time against Numan.
Numan reckoned he was on there, and it must have been very tight, because he's in the wide position, he's able to look across at the last defender, and as it's played, I think he's onside there. Hence the frustration there on Arthur Newman's face. I think we're going to see quite a few more tight offside decisions the way Aberdeen are playing.
Well, Russell Anderson's got another problem. He was involved in that challenge earlier with Barry Ferguson, and I wonder, well, surely he won't have to go off as well. The other two subs, by the way, for Aberdeen are the two Moroccans. Oh, he's not going to be able to carry on. They're going to lose Russell Anderson as well. And Skovdahl, he won't be able to believe this, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a disastrous start for Aberdeen. Belabed looks as if he's the one who's going to be coming on. And one of the midfield players might be David Rowson, who will be asked to play in the right back position now.
I suspect Aberdeen fans must be thinking they've broke a few mirrors in recent times.
Yeah, you have to feel for Skovdahl in this situation, Ian. And he won the header cleanly enough there. And I don't know what happened there. Certainly on the way down, he must have jarred something.
This is definitely the way it happens for Aberdeen. No doubt about it now. They lost Jim Leighton in the opening 2 minutes of the game, and Robbie Winters had to come on and go in goal, and now one of their star men of the season, Russell Anderson, is replaced by one of the Moroccans, Rashid Belabed.
Yeah, he'll come in and play in midfield. David Rowson is indeed going to take a shift back and play in the right back position.
They're all falling down in the Aberdeen team. Only one substitution left to be made in the game now. Zerouali is the remaining man on the bench.
Yeah, what they have to do at the moment is make sure they get in at half-time without further losing. They've had to reorganise twice. They've got to make sure they don't lose another one. Should Rangers get another one, well, for me it would be too much for Aberdeen.
Some encouragement for them, and my word, they could do with encouragement at the moment, is that all their Scottish Cup goals this season, Aberdeen, have come in the second half of matches. In fact, 7 of the 8 have come in the final half hour. The story of Aberdeen's season, though, has really been encapsulated into this first half at Hampden Park. Numan and Bronckhorst making another run, but here's Solberg and Belabed, who was signed from the Belgian club. Molenbeek gets his first touch, and Aberdeen get a throw. They need something special from the likes of Stavrum. Belabed trying to be a little too clever. again. Numan's cross, it's a little awkward this, and it finds its way through to Van Bronckhorst, who has Dow for company. Van Bronckhorst, what a cross! And it certainly had Robbie Winter's nerves going. Albertz. Wallace. Numan. Ferguson. We can try again. Barry Ferguson. Offside flag has gone up against Wallace.
Yeah, flag went up right away. It's the first time in the match, though, Ian, that Aberdeen are now sat right on top of Robbie Winters. As the ball is played in, it's a good shout. Good call by the assistant here on the near side.
Rangers hoping to win the Scottish Cup for the 29th time. And that would put them within one of Celtic's record tally of 30. Half-time approaching. Rangers with just a one-goal lead. It may have all gone wrong for Aberdeen in terms of injuries, but it hasn't gone that far wrong yet in terms of goals conceded. They are still in with a shout. It may not appear to be a very loud shout at the moment, but they will keep plugging away. Ferguson. From behind on Dodds by Whyte. There will be 9 minutes of time added on because of that injury to Jim Leighton right at the start. Martin Clark, I don't think he's ever held up a board with that number of minutes on it. Fourth official today. Then forced into 2 changes in the first half.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think the SFA will have to look at the rules here, because this final in many ways has been spoiled by Jim Leighton's injury.
Well, it has made it a bit farcical, and certainly Sebastian Rosenthal, who's missed out today, was fuming about it in the week that there are only 3 subs on the bench. Tucked out by Craig Moore. The throw will be taken by Jamie McAllister. Now Stavrum. He's done well against Moore. Oh, and it drifts wide, but Guntveit was right in there.
Well, Guntveit attacked the front post, but Belabed stands watching. Look at Belabed at the back post here. Stavrum comes in, dinks it in, and Belabed standing goal side of George Albertz here, doesn't get himself into the back post area. Guntveit trying to get to the front post, but Belabed was standing watching.
So Guntveit did score on the road to Hampden. And what a vital goal it was at Inverness Cali Thistle, an equaliser. So David Rowson has moved to right back now that Russell Anderson has had to go off. Robbie Winters is in goal because Jim Leighton was injured in the opening couple of minutes. Apart from that, it's all going swimmingly for Aberdeen. That will be a free kick, and it's going to be a card for Whyte.
Yeah, just one too many for Derek Whyte. And to be fair, his timing the tackle has been spot on today. Not on this occasion though. Fraction late, catches the right foot of Billy Dodds here. I don't think Jim McCluskey had any choice there.
Derek Whyte gets the first yellow card of the 2000 Scottish Cup final. missed out in the League Cup final here through suspension. He has to tread carefully now. So we've still got around 6 minutes of the first half to go. Reyna smuggled it through to Wallace. Ferguson. Aberdeen will be so desperate to get to half-time. Just the one down. Of course, if they can come up with something themselves, even better. Rowson. Belabed is to his right. This is Guntveit. He was far too easily shrugged off the ball, and Albertz has found Wallace, but Solberg in the way. Stavrum, lovely touch on, but it's Reyna who's covering Andy Dow, putting him under pressure. Not so you notice though. Kanchelskis and Ferguson combining, but Whyte had to time that one right, having just been booked. Free kick to Aberdeen. Well, Jim McCann last game as a ref has certainly been an eventful one.
Yeah, he's had a good game. He's tried to let it flow. I think he's been reluctant to produce any yellow cards, but no choice there with Whyte a moment ago.
Rowson finding Guntveit. That's going to be a free kick.
We're going to try and make the most of the set pieces now. Guntveit clearly tripped here by Tony Vidmar. It's given Aberdeen the chance to put Whyte and Solberg forward to the back post area. And they have to ask a question here of Stefan Klos and those in front of him. Delivery has to be good.
The delivery is from Andy Dow. And Bernard's header, but Stefan Klos under no pressure. Well, hang on, because here's Belabed cannoned off Ferguson. Now Numan has it. Dow. Bernard. Can Aberdeen breach the champions' defence? Stavrum. Dow and Jess are in the middle, but it's certainly not going to get as far as them. In fact, nowhere near them. Albertz steaming away. Kanchelskis, not a bad return. And Bronckhorst with Reyna on the overlap. That's got too much on it though, and Rangers rather wasted that, much to the delight of the Aberdeen fans.
Yeah, Reyna had taken up a good position on the right-hand side. Advocaat not happy at all. And I have to say, I don't think, daft though it may sound, I don't think Rangers would have wanted to have played a final against a side without a proper goalkeeper. Because regardless now of how well Rangers play, should they win the cup, they're not going to get the credit they deserve now.
Not at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do bring in that 5 subs rule for the Scottish Cup ASAP. Because I think they're going to get a bit of stick for not having it already. Vidmar. If you're confused looking at our clock there, just to reassure you, we are still in the first half because of added on time for a very nasty facial injury to Jim Leighton. Kanchelskis slipping it through to Billy Dodds, but Solberg is in charge of that. Goal kick.
Yeah, I don't know how defenders get away with this, to be honest with you. It's blatant obstruction, but they always get the benefit of the doubt here. Billy Dodds desperately trying to keep the ball in play.
Rangers leading, and half-time almost upon us after that extraordinary amount of injury time. Craig Moore finding fellow Aussie Tony Vidmar. It is half-time, and Giovanni van Bronckhorst's goal separates the sides, but there have been other stories on Cup final day in Hampden. Striker Robbie Winters having to go in goal after Jim Leighton was injured in the opening couple of minutes. Jim Leighton's last ever game ending in agony as he was taken off to hospital. Robbie Winters, with no sub-keeper on the bench, took Ryan Essendon's jersey and came on. He was beaten by Van Bronckhorst as Albertz slipped it in over the top. But bearing in mind that Aberdeen also lost Russell Anderson, they are only the one goal behind, and they might just settle for that at half-time in the cup final. Probably feel they are due a change of fortune in what has been a generally miserable season for them. Far from miserable though for Dick Advocaat. Rangers on the verge of their 16th double. It is they who will start the second half. If Aberdeen manage to turn this round, manage to pull it off, it will go down as one of the greatest victories ever in the game of football. Without a goalkeeper, they must try and fend off the champions Rangers. Without a recognised goalkeeper in Jim Leighton. Striker Robbie Winters between the sticks, but just the one goal for Rangers so far. They're immediately looking for another though. Van Bronckhorst finding Dodds, and now finding Kanchelskis. And it's knocked behind by Guntveit for a corner.
Yeah, it's not a bad ball in at all by Andrei Kanchelskis. He probably knows that Robbie Winters isn't going to come for this type of cross. Just hangs it up to the back post there. Aberdeen do enough to get it away.
Well, they've got another injury now, Aberdeen, which is the last thing they need. Solberg has spilt blood, and they're going to have to patch him up. Whatever next for Aberdeen.
And it's all happening to defenders, Ian. The goalkeeper first of all, then the right back. Now one of the centre backs in a bit of a mess here. I can only hope he doesn't need a stitch or two in that. I hope they can continue. But Skovdahl must be wondering what it's all about today. We come here hoping for an even break, and we haven't had that today, that's for sure.
Well, he was having a quiet cigarette before the game. Picked a bad day to give up. Albertz' corner, and Dodds is unmarked. Kanchelskis knocked it back in. Here's Tony Vidmar. Rangers are closing in on the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, it's all down to poor defending at the back post here. I think it's Belabed who loses the back post ball and allows Billy Dodds the time to turn it back across goal. Don't know what Belabed's thinking of there. In fact, it's Kanchelskis who hooks it back in. Breaks nicely for Vidmar. And again, Robbie Winters can't do enough here. And that's exactly the start that Rangers would have wanted to the second half. Not properly cleared, and Vidmar didn't have to be asked twice there. Good finish by the defender. Plenty of players goal side here for Aberdeen, but not much they could do about the finish here. And Rangers now well and truly in the driving seat.
Tony Vidmar has been a consistent performer for Rangers in a number of roles as well. He's played all across the back four this season. And he's weighed in with a few goals as well. Kanchelskis. Rangers have doubled their lead. Kanchelskis, despite an attempted obstruction, is still going. Reyna takes up the reins. Wallace's header was a bit wayward. But what was looking extremely hard for Aberdeen is looking close to impossible now. Rangers might be in the mood to go on the rampage. Albertz to Wallace. And the Rangers fans are jumping up and down. Very much a touch of Dutch amongst them today, of course, wearing orange as a way of commemorating the influence of the likes of Advocaat and Van Bronckhorst and Numan and Moles, and there's more to come with Fernando Rickson and Bert Konterman arriving. And of course, the chief of them all, Dick Advocaat.
Yeah, I think he'll be a bit happier now, Ian. He must have had plenty to say at half-time because Rangers haven't really played.
Albertz whipped in. Oh, unmarked again! Billy Dodds! He scored against his former club, and that has more or less clinched it.
Yeah, and sadly, once again, it's Belabed who's defending that back post. Completely loses Billy Dodds. And Billy Dodds wasn't going to miss from inside the 6-yard box. Heads it back across Robbie Winters into the top corner. But Belabed all over the place there at the back post. And Aberdeen in danger of total collapse now.
Carbon copy stuff, really, but Billy Dodds gets his 25th goal of the season, 15 of them for Rangers. Aberdeen know all about his instincts in front of goal, though. He was always their top scorer. Guntveit. Well, there's a danger of Aberdeen collapsing here. I wonder what Dick Advocaat did say at half-time.
We can only wonder, in, but you can see the response that his side has given him here. And we see that throughout the season. If we see a flat Rangers performance in the first half, it's a different story in the second half once Advocaat's had a word with them.
Kanchelskis. Reyna. Albertz! Oh yes! Did it go over the line? It has done now! Rod Wallace is claiming it. Albertz might fancy claiming it. It's 4-0.
Well, we'll have to see the pictures again, Ian, to see whose goal this is. The standoff Albertz, wonderful shot there. Yeah, it's over the line. It's George Albert's goal. Billy Dodds and Rod Wallace desperately trying to get on the end of it, trying to claim it. Superb strike from George Albertz. It's a yard over the line. But again, look at the anxiety of Dodds and Wallace to follow up. Super strike by George Albertz. And it is a total collapse now, I'm afraid.
It's number 20 of a sensational season for the popular German, George Albertz. And if Dodds and Wallace try to take it off him, beware, George. So Rangers have scored 3 times in an early second half of blitz, and there is more patching up to be done for Thomas Solberg as well, and Skovdahl. You do have to fill for him. But I don't think they're filling too much for him at the moment. The Rangers fans sensing more silverware.
No, it's not Rangers' problem that Aberdeen lost Jim Leighton. They still had a job to do, Ian. Didn't go about it in any spectacular fashion in the first half, but they've changed up a couple of gears in the second.
I suppose it might be a question of how many. The record cup final score, by the way, is 6-1. Celtic beat Hibs by that scoreline in 1972, and Renton beat Cambuslang by that scoreline in 1888. Quite a good game, you were saying that one, David. 4-0 at the moment to Rangers. And it is going to be a double for Dick to add to his treble of last season. Of course, Aberdeen denied him another treble by knocking Rangers out of the League Cup. They are paying for it today. They could probably make a film about Aberdeen's season, mind you. Bottom of the league, reached both cup finals, yet when they got to this one, they lost their keeper after a couple of minutes, lost one of their best players of the season, Russell Anderson, too. If it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong for Aberdeen. Oh, Solberg has been caught out by Albertz, but it'll drift behind. Excellent return, 20 goals for Albertz this season. He signed a new 3-year deal as well, although actually it's a 1-year extension to the 2 years that he had to run.
Yeah, it's a terrific return for a midfielder, and it would have been very difficult for Dick Advocaat to replace that kind of goal threat.
It is turning into the romp that many expected, but Aberdeen will point to rather exceptional circumstances. Here's Albertz. Rangers' 3 goals in the second half came in the space of just over 4 minutes. An absolute blitz.
Yeah, 2 of them down to naive defending at the back post, I have to say, from Rashid Belabed.
Ferguson. Numan. Reyna. Tony Vidmar, scorer of one of those goals. And it's a stroll in the park, Hampden Park, for Rangers now. It's all down to whether they want to rewrite the history books, and Dick Advocaat, I'm sure he will.
Yeah, certainly for Aberdeen it's all about pride now. They won't want to leave here with a 6 or 7-0 drubbing. Going for the pride, they know the game's beyond them.
Arthur Numan will be lifting the Scottish Cup later, unless we are about to witness the mother of all miracles. This is Kanchelskis, who's had a good final. Won the English FA Cup with Manchester United, but was on the bench against Celtic last year. Did come on though. And that's going to be a booking for Paul Bernard.
Yeah, that's down to frustration as much as anything else there. Good play by Kanchelskis, and it's a rash challenge there by Paul Bernard. The signs that Aberdeen are beginning to lose their discipline, and it's hardly surprising.
Albertz is sizing this one up. It's a long way out, but he's never been one to be put off by that. There's a slight delay to add to the tension surrounding this free kick. Here he goes again, George Albertz, cannon off the wall, corner.
Yeah, the wall did their job there, 6 in the wall, and it held firm. See Robbie Winterstrom having to do a bit of work there, but Rangers now look as if they're going to steamroller Aberdeen.
Guess what, Billy Dodds has gone to the far post. Just there, in fact! He nearly did it again.
Billy Dodds. Believe it's Rashid Belabed at the back post again.
Unbelievable. Van Bronckhorst, and it's not behind for another corner, but how could they leave him there again?
Oh no. Oh, he just gets caught under the ball again, Rashid Belabed. You've got to get him out of there. Andy Dow having a word with him. Smashing player when he's on the ball, Belabed, but defensively been found wanting today.
Giovanni van Bronckhorst switched that in. Ooh, Vidmar nearly got a touch. Got a knock in the face, I think.
Yeah, that's the danger for Aberdeen now. They're sat right on top of Robbie Winters, who's not going to come and win anything, such as his lack of height here. And it's asking a lot of the likes of Solberg and Derek Whyte.
It was more head in hands than a knock in the face for not burying that one. Four different scorers for Rangers today, but that's no surprise. They do spread the goals throughout the team. 133 goals overall this season. Klos hasn't had much to do. He broke a cup final jinx last year when he won the Scottish Cup with Rangers, because he never managed to win the German Cup with Borussia Dortmund. In fact, he never got beyond the quarter-finals even. Stavrum. And here's Belabed. And his control let him down, and Tony Vidmar intercepted.
Well, he was almost in there. Would have been a consolation for Belabed. And as you see in the first touch, let him down.
Offside against George Albertz. Stuck it away anyway.
Well, almost a consolation goal here for Rashid Belabed. Good build-up here by Aberdeen. Belabed inside Tony Vidmar, but just showed too much of it to Vidmar eventually. And that's a good challenge there by the Australian.
This is Jess. Dow delivers. Away by Numan. Then by Ferguson. Here's Albertz. Wrestling with Belabed. He's not really got a problem though, has Herr Albertz, when it comes to physical challenges. And he is very much a cult hero with the Rangers fans, who are delighted that he's going to be around for at least 3 more years. Stavrum. Oh dear.
He gets half a yard. He's just trying to bend it into the top left-hand corner here. Doesn't go for power. Just got enough room here. It's on his left side, and he doesn't get it properly.
Well, he moved to Scotland after the Swedish season ended, Harold Stavrum, so he hasn't had a break for 18 months. He can't wait for his holiday, and he'd probably like to be on it now, I would have thought. Reyna. Encouraging Kanchelskis to go, and he does go. Belabed didn't get it away. Albertz deflected, nearly went in, but it's a corner.
Yeah, they're all over the place at the back now. Good width again by Kanchelskis. The deep ball in. Belabed again doesn't deal with it very well, and eventually it comes off the Moroccan and spins just wide.
Albertz with the corner, and it was Moore, was it, who came in to power his header goalwards.
Yeah, he attacks this well, Craig Moore, gets across the front of Derek Whyte, the driven corner by George Albertz. And Craig Moore did well, although he just couldn't keep it down. Half a yard he gets on Derek Whyte. Well, attempts at goal. Stat tells its own story. Rangers now in complete command.
Do they want a few more? You suspect they might. Ferguson. Numan. Rod Wallace yet to get on the score sheet, but that might have changed had Solberg not fended him off. I suspect he thinks he is on the score sheet, having said that. And followed up the Albertz blast. Ferguson. Reyna Rangers heading for their 40th victory in 55 games this season. Not bad, I suppose. Here's Albertz. Aberdeen stroke. Aberdeen did concede 83 goals in the Scottish Premier League, the worst defensive record in British League football. They've got a free kick now with Jess floor. Well, their travelling fans are resigned to losing this cup final, but they wouldn't mind something to cheer about. Maybe they'll get it from Jess, then again, maybe they won't.
Yeah, he's trying to get some dip in this, it just doesn't come back down for him. And the Aberdeen players at the moment, so I'm sure will just want to get on that team bus and get away home again.
Here's Kanchelskis. Vidmar. It's a stroll for Rangers. And just to make it worse for Aberdeen, Neil McCann's going to come on soon to run in and about them. Vidmar. Looking for Dodds. Oh, and Rugby Winters wasn't quite sure what was happening then. He thought about coming, changed his mind, but Whyte did steer it back to him. Reyna. Dodds. Ferguson. Dodds. And here's Reyna. And he's in. Rod Wallace. And Bronckhorst in there as well, but it's scrambled away for a corner.
Yeah, David Rowson does well on tucking in here to give his centre-backs a bit of cover. Falling behind, Reyna on his way. But look at Rowson getting himself to the front post there to make the block. Falling behind by Dodds. Rod Wallace thought he was on the end of this. And a good challenge there by David Rowson.
Unless he gets a chance here, that might have been Rod Wallace's last chance to score, because it seems he's going to make way. Unfortunately for Aberdeen, that corner not troubling them, and a foul by Craig Moore on Jess. It really has been a frustrating afternoon for Aberdeen, and in many ways some of these little niggles are almost understandable.
Yeah, just a quick tug of the jersey there by Craig Moore on Ian Jess. Paddy Ferguson makes it 2 against 1. As Rangers make the change.
Rod Wallace then makes way for the arrival of a man who is unique in Scottish Cup football. Neil McCann has won the trophy in the last 2 seasons with different teams. Hearts in 1998, Rangers last season. Can he do it for the 3rd year running? I think we all know the answer to that. This is Belabed. After Numan though, sticking to his guns. This is Stavrum. Andy Dow's on the far stick, but Paddy Reyna's there too, and how cool is that? Billy Dodds. Kanchelskis will try and get in, but McAllister sending it back to Winters. Oh dear. Neil McCann quickly closing him down. There's a slight delay because there's a streaker on the field. Unfortunately, it's a male one, so we can't really be bothered to look at him that much. Nearly always male streakers wherever I see them. Right, we're ready to resume. Aberdeen are going to make a change though before we resume, I think, if Jim McCluskey notices. Zerouali is going to come on. He was sub last week at Dundee in bizarre circumstances, came over to the dugout, suggested to Skovdahl that he should change his position on the field, and Ed thought he was injured and took him off by mistake. He's coming on today for Stavrum.
Yeah, it gives them fresh legs, but Skovdahl knows the game is long beyond the main. The problem is he doesn't really have a defender on the bench. Otherwise, I think he would probably put a defender on, try and shore up a certainly defensive midfield player, make it a bit harder for Rangers, go for a bit of damage limitation, if you like.
Porrini's getting ready to come on for Rangers as well. Bronckhorst flies off to Switzerland tomorrow with Arthur Numan to link up with the Holland squad. In fact, they're playing today against Romania in a warm-up game for Euro 2000. But Numan and Bronckhorst have another game on their minds. Neil McCann, Albertz, Numan, Ferguson. Here's Craig Moore. Surprise selection in this cup final after a couple of months out, and it will be he who will be replaced by Porrini shortly. Ferguson, Bronckhorst to Billy Dodds, and didn't quite find its way through to McCann. It spun off Derek Whyte for a corner.
Yeah, really have to turn this back the way Billy Dodds. Don't know whether he's trying to get a shot on target. Derek Whyte making it difficult at the front post there. He really had to come across the face of goal for Neil McCann, who was attacking that front post. We're just finding an awful lot of room now in the last third.
And Bronckhorst whips that corner in, but it's met by Belabed. That time he met a corner, some might say. Reyna took a deflection off Solberg. It's going to be another corner.
Yeah, you see the strength here of Reyna. Gets through two challenges. Away from Belabed, Solberg tries to close him down and does just enough outstretched.
Kanchelskis and Bronckhorst combining. Albertz. Almost went through to Craig Moore after Vidmar left it. And now Craig Moore does have it. McAllister and Kanchelskis sliding in, and neither did much with it. So Rangers are making another change with Sergio Porrini coming on in what might be his last game for the club. And Craig Moore, who made an unexpected return today, goes off. He really has been superb this season.
Yeah, he's done very well today. Looked a bit rusty in the first 10 minutes or so, Ian, but he warmed to his task. I think simply this is Advocaat giving Sergio Porrini a run out here, a chance to feel part of it.
It was a lot closer when these two last met in the final. In 1993, Rangers won 2-1 to complete the treble. Today they are completing the double. They amassed a record points tally, 90, in winning the title. They finished 21 points clear of Celtic. Bronckhorst. Kanchelskis to Dodds. There you go, have it back. Nobody in the middle though for Rangers. David Rowson with a rather uncomfortable clearance, which gives Kanchelskis a chance to wreak havoc again, and he could be sure that he will. Oh, they're getting in each other's way. It's Neil McCann, and he didn't.
They're right now on top of Robbie Winters. They've just been pressed further and further back. Look at Rowson and Solberg. They're only 4 or 5 yards out there.
George Albertz with the Rangers corner, and Robbie Winters confirmed that he's a striker then, as Ferguson blazes it over.
Yeah, I think he's getting a bit embarrassing now for Aberdeen. You can't blame Robbie Winters. I mean, he's been game enough to go and goal in the first place.
Great applause for Giovanni van Bronckhorst, who may well have a big summer ahead with Holland at Euro 2000 as he makes way for the arrival of the Turkish international Tugay, who'll be hoping to be there as well. Sadly, the Scottish Cup final became a little farcical when Aberdeen lost Jim Leighton in the second minute. Robbie Winters had to go in goal, and then they lost Russell Anderson as well. Although Rangers only got one goal in the first half, they've got three in the second, and maybe another one as Dodds sent it in. Is that a penalty? No, says Jim McCluskey.
Well, first impression is it was a penalty.
Zerouali. What a bizarre season it has been for Aberdeen Football Club. Bottom of the league, reached 2 cup finals, lost both of them. Survived relegation though, by the fact that Falkirk's ground was not up to scratch. So it could have been worse, because this could have been the final played between the relegation playoffs. Ferguson. Kanchelskis. Look at him go. And McCann is in there. It's going to come back to Tugay. Oh, his own man pulling away. The flag's up anyway for offside. But I think Barry Ferguson.
Yeah, came off Barry Ferguson, who got himself forward into the box. Couldn't have struck it much cleaner, we have to say that. Kanchelskis in superb form now down the right-hand side. And how's this for a strike? I just wonder if Jim McCluskey did Thomas Solberg a favour earlier on there. The ball in from Dodds, Neil McCann attacking the front post, and that for me is a penalty.
Belabed. Aberdeen looking for a consolation offside against Jess, and Stefan Klos equal to it anyway, but the flag was up straight away.
We're still trying to get players forward, Aberdeen, to their credit.
Here's Tugay. Porrini. Rangers ready to swarm all over Aberdeen again. Kanchelskis. Tugay. Rangers won the Scottish Cup 4 times in the 1990s. They are going to kick off a new decade and a new millennium with another success in this competition.
Yeah, I think they looked flat in the first half. I'm sure Advocaat had plenty to say in the dressing room at half-time, but they've gone about it very clinically in the second half. They've upped a couple of gears.
Zerouali. His fellow Moroccan Belabed is nearby, and Guntveit had made a run through the middle. Numan, Albertz, who will get the throw, and George Albertz has been named as the Tennent's man of the match in this Scottish Cup final. David Rowson in no hurry to give the ball back. Aberdeen have got to grimace their way through the final stages of this game, hoping that they don't concede any more. They will not want to be on the end of a record cup final score. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but you never know with Rangers, because as we've seen time and again this season, and today, when they do score one, others tend to follow pretty quickly. Here's Kanchelskis. Neil McCann, not what Billy Dodds wanted, but he might still be in anyway. And Robbie Winters handed it down.
Well, he does well here, Billy Dodds, because he looks second favourite here. Neil McCann asking too much of him with the ball in. And he did well to get on the end of it, Billy Dodds. Gets the first time shot away early.
Handed out. Vidmar. It's not really a problem back there for Rangers. Quiet final for Stefan Klos. No final at all, sadly, for Jim Leighton, apart from a couple of minutes. Stretchered off and taken to hospital with a suspected fractured jaw and broken teeth. And our best wishes to him. But in many ways it makes a mockery of the fact that there are not 5 substitutions in the Scottish Cup. I think there will be soon. Sergio Porrini, Claudio Reyna. This is Tugay. Billy Dodds. Some fancy footwork from Tugay. Albertz. He has support nearby from Numan. And he shuffles it through to Ferguson. Reyna. Tugay. Dodds. Here's Reyna. Kanchelskis looking to get there, but it's been a much better season for Andrei Kanchelskis. He finally came good.
Yeah, it took him long enough, Ian. It was a huge disappointment when he arrived in Scotland, but certainly this season we've seen the best of him. And he's provided some great natural widths down that right side for Rangers this season.
It's almost over the Scottish season. Those players will be back in training though on the 26th of June. Rangers of course have Champions League qualifiers to play in July, and the season itself starts at the end of July. Some of them, of course, have got Euro 2000 to contend with too. Neil McCann's cross. It'll be a corner. Derek Whyte's expression summing up Aberdeen's day and perhaps even their season.
Yeah, they're just hanging in though, Ian. I said earlier, they're playing for pride now. He's got to hang in there. Try and make sure that Rangers don't get another 2 or 3 more.
Rangers fans trying to inspire their team on towards another goal. Tugay. Ferguson. Kanchelskis showed a little bit too much of that. Rangers season began 10 months ago tomorrow when they beat FC Hampden 4-1 in a Champions League qualifier. That's another firm challenge that's gone in. McCann letting it go.
Well, it was Guntveit who caught Tugay late there.
Tugay back on his feet, but not quite steady enough to keep hold of that one. Rashid Belabed, Zerouali, Jess, Rowson. The little flick from Rashid Belabed comes to nothing. The Scottish Cup final has come to nothing for Aberdeen. They've scored 18 goals in their 5 Scottish Cup ties this season. That is the best. Billy Dodds with 5 goals is the joint top scorer with Brian Carrigan of Clyde, who also weighed in with 5 in this season's competition. Well, Aberdeen and their fans haven't had much fun this afternoon, but hey, they're going to make the most of it. Wonderful.
That's good, they can take it as philosophically as that, Ian, and I'm sure they knew from the second minute when Jim Leighton was taken off that this wasn't going to be their day. And what a pity that Jim Leighton did pick up that injury.
They are the losing fans, but not so you'd notice at the moment. They're staying loud and proud. They will be wondering, I guess, what will happen to them next season after all that has happened to them this season. No smiles, though, and no fun for Skovdahl.
Yeah, it's easy to say in hindsight they should have had a keeper on the bench, but he came here, he wanted attacking options, he had Winters, Belabed and Zerouali. Not thinking for a minute that his goalkeeper would be injured, certainly not in the second minute. And that really turned the game on its head. Well, you certainly have to give credit to Rangers for the way they've gone about their business in this second half.
Tony Vidmar. Ferguson. Reyna. And Neil McCann. Arthur Numan takes over. And now Tugay. Just Whyte.
Billy Dodds not happy here at all with Tugay. Could have played Billy Dodds in here in the inside right channel. Tries to just pass it inside the left-hand post. And they're all trying to get their name on the score sheet now.
Arthur Numan. His experience of captaining a cup final side has gone rather better than the last one, when he and Dick Advocaat's PSV Eindhoven were humiliated 5-0 by Ajax. That was a couple of years ago, and both Numan and Advocaat are quite willing to suggest that it could have been 10-0. Albertz, the man of the match. And he's put Numan in here, and McCann is in the middle. And so is Billy Dodds. Oh, what a save. And few would deny the standing keeper, Robbie Winters, that one.
I'm absolutely delighted for him. What a superb save here. Great ball in by Numan. Billy Dodds must have thought he had scored here. And a terrific reflex stop here by Robbie Winters. Billy Dodds couldn't have hit it any much cleaner than that. And well done, Robbie Winters.
Well, Craig Brown's here. You never know. Numan's cross. It's going to be another corner. Robbie Winters having to take over from the injured Jim Leighton in goal. And he's had to face that many corners as well. He hasn't been too near-minute, it must be said. And unfortunately, neither were some of his colleagues. Neil McCann. Albertz. Is he going to go for goal himself? Ooh, oh, he's rising.
Yeah, not a bad effort. Normally fancies everything on his left side here, but just decides to check onto his right side. Plenty of power on it. Can't quite find the target there. And he's had a smashing match, George Albertz.
is Porrini. Well, the Aberdeen fans are trying to make as much noise as the Rangers fans to give them their due. Belabed. It's going to be a free kick for a foul by Numan. And here's Zerouali, but oh, he's not quite given up yet. Could be a break on here. Well, in fact, there will be a break on here. Kanchelskis. Dodds. Just touched away by McAllister. Ferguson. Dodds helped it on. Vidmar's header and Numan presenting it to David Rowson. The Aberdeen fans would go absolutely wild if they got a consolation in this game. Here's Guntveit. It's all over. Make theirs a double. Rangers champions and Scottish Cup winners. Another tremendous triumph, another top trophy, the 100th major honour of their illustrious 127-year history. But it was a Scottish Cup final that descended into a little bit of farce right from the off when Jim Leighton was stretchered off in the second minute, and with no sub-keeper amongst the three on the bench. Robbie Winters, a striker, had to go in goal. Rangers only managed to put one past him in the first half, but 3 goals in 4 minutes and 18 seconds at the start of the second half. Testimony perhaps to Dick Advocaat's half-time team talk, which really got his team going. Rangers have completed a century of major honours, and they show no signs of declaring yet.